Can you just tell us your first name?
It was interesting hearing Sheila talking about the true cost of food, and I think that's very important to consider. And a lot of the conversations that I have through my work around looking at how we can find ways of making good food, particularly fresh local produce, affordable to people on low incomes without farmers and producers bearing the cost. And I don't know what the answer to that is, but one of the things that I feel quite strongly about in these conversations that I'm having is that we need to challenge the narrative that it's okay to give poor people waste food. And okay, yeah, we absolutely, food banks play a very important role, but we need to think about more creative ways and dignified ways of people on low incomes being able to access good food. I've been having quite a few conversations today, and I was actually talking to Sean Ruffle, and he said, hi, Sean from Organic North. And we were talking about the funding situation and how difficult it is for people like myself and some of the people here, I imagine, working in a community setting to get access to funding to continue the work that we do. And I kind of feel like from the conversations today, there must be a way that we could work with businesses to support businesses so that we're bringing customers to businesses, but also looking at ways that we could maybe, I don't know, provide. I mean, some of the ways that we've looked at before, doing things like voucher schemes to make food more affordable, or I don't know. It's just a there's a thought. It's a big question, and Is there
anyone particularly you'd like to comment?
No, I'm just sort of throwing it out there.
Thank you, Kate.
Appreciate that. And the background you've got in the work is awesome. I'm impressed and anxious. So thank you for coming down. Thank you for that comment. Anybody else want to ask a question? Anybody want to come? Will you bear? No? Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Just a quick...
First name, please.
Sorry, my name's Dave. I used to be a teacher, and I just think that it's not really a question. I don't know how it can be solved. I suppose the answer is more money into schools, but about educating kids to cook properly in school and school meals. I was chatting to, sorry, your name was? Joel. To Joel before about, we used to have two canteens. I taught in a school just by Skelmersdale. We had two canteens, lower school and upper school canteen. The lower school canteen was closed because you could make staff cuts and save money, and then they only had the one canteen. The problem with only having one canteen was there wasn't enough space for the kids to sit and eat, and so everything went off the menu apart from pizza, basically. I mean, beforehand we weren't having Chateaubriand steak, but at least there was more of a variety of food, and then, all of a sudden lunchtime was cut and pizza was served, and that was it. And I don't know how, in the economic climate that we're in, but really having more money for schools to be, 120 chefs, or were you saying about school? There was 80-odd schools in Lancashire. It would be great to have a proper chef in each of them. There's a lot of schools that need that sort of a input, really, and I don't know how we would get the money for that, which isn't really the question for yourselves, probably more for Keir, and he's down the road, but there you go.
Can I just say, sorry, Sheila, Dave, you'll be pleased to know if you come to our final seminar. We have an organisation in Liverpool called Food for Thought, which works specifically as a charity with food in schools, teaching children how to grow and cook food. And they're one of our guests at the final seminar. So we have something similar to the one that Sheila mentioned, Chefs for Schools.
Yeah.
Sheila, do you want to make a comment?
No, I just wanted to say that's, you're outlining, you're saying, what can we do in the current economic climate? The problem is that because we look at all these things separately, because there's a Department of Health and Education and DEFRA, and it does need a huge mindset change, that you look at these costs as a whole. That idea that you could save money by feeding children in that way, I mean, that's what's brought us to this pass. And I did an interview with a Tory MP. I've lost her seat in the last election, but she was a smart woman, and she'd gone into a hospital to see her father, who'd had a stroke, and she thought she was going into hospital, where she would just see one or two people, but she went into and realized there were wards. There were multiple wards of people who'd had strokes. And until you get to the point where you're joining up, you can't change, because it will always be that accountancy, sorry, Alan, that accountancy kind of thing, in this economic climate, how can we make those changes? It's difficult.
Thank you. Becky, quick.
I think also the thing about education, I think it should be fundamental to all areas of education. So it's not just school, teaching kids to cook at this point. Like when I was lucky enough to grow up in the late 60s, 70s, and nature and school and all that stuff was so enmeshed in our in the whole part of our school. And I think that we've withdrawn to these sort of three: maths, English, and science. And I think that the real education should start there, which is a much more holistic view of the world and of nature and of which food is so much part of.
Thank you very much. Lucy, you want to ask Serena?
Thank you very much. I was actually going to say the same point that you just did about food for thought, but while I sat here, I thought of another one, which was just, I think it's really important for us to think about the language that we use when we talk about food, because I think we have to say it's an investment, and that's what we need. We need investment in the food systems, because that is investing in the future of children's health, the future of the NHS, etc., etc. And for a lot of people, they look at everything in these economic terms. So we have to flip that, and we have to say, right, yeah, okay, yes, it is economic. Yes, it's going to cost you money, but look what you'll save in the long term. Look what investment that is going to make to enable people to live well and eat well and hopefully grow old well, because that's the important bit, and that will save the money that the government keeps worrying about.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next question, yes. Zarina will get a microphone to you. Can you give us your first name and your question?
Hi there, my name is Alex. We're seeing a lot of young people, graduates especially as well, struggling to find sort of employment opportunities at the moment. And that's probably going to be on the rise for a little bit. I was wondering, do you think there are ways that we can engage people who are out of work, or like people at early stages of their career, in sort of food careers? Because it's very, or food-related careers, because I don't think there is much of a pride in hospitality and catering, in even just food sourcing. And so, especially from the perspective of squash, where you'll have engaged with people, it'd be great to know how you could get, or your perspectives on how we can get more people involved in like food as a career, rather than just something they consume.
Thank you, Alex. Anybody want to comment on that?
I think you're absolutely right, and I think one of the things that we try and do is really emphasise the value of food and the value of those jobs. At Squash, we're a CIC, so we're a community-owned business. So that means there's no profit. There's no profit takers. All the profit that we make at Squash goes back into our programme of education. And I think when you're also doing hospitality differently, we pay real living wage is our minimum wage, and we try and work up from that. And actually, I just think those things, and sort of valuing the process, valuing the teaching people and sharing skills, which again, production skills is a really important part of the work that we do and the work that we share within our team, within our volunteers, with participants, with local schools and children. So I think you're absolutely right. The value that should be placed on hospitality as a job, as an industry, is massive. And I think just really being very clear and open about what that is as well.
Sorry, Andrew, do you want to say anything?
I think part of the problem that we've got about chefs in this city certainly are there's a shortage of chefs. Like, if I wanted to walk into another job, if I was prepared to work in any place, I could get a job probably in the morning. But part of the problem of the industry encouraging people to want to turn cooking and hospitality into a career is the sort of the lifestyle, the poor quality of a lot of the restaurants, the poor quality of a lot of the standard of chefing, the sort of idea that you need to smash it out, lad, and you know, and as opposed to, there are few and far between kitchens where you're encouraged to really learn how to cook, to learn how to understand food, to learn how to value stuff tasting nice and cooking something for someone as a pleasure. It might be a stressful pleasure, but it's. I think that then it's very difficult to arrange that sea change in mentality, and I really think that it's good to see some like nice companies, Squash is obviously doing like the right steps, you know, and it would be lovely to see that kind of model where chefs are sort of not just chefs but everybody who works in restaurants are looked after in terms of their life, you know, and taught life skills, not just how to be really fast and get something out and throw things in the fryer, you know.
I want to share a word of hope, I hope, Alex, with you. I also chair another charity called LaSalle, Hospitality Education Charity. We've got a building in Croxteth, which we're turning into a hotel and restaurant to train young people for careers in hospitality in a different way. A bit like Kindling Farm is doing, trying to be different in farming. We want to be different in hospitality. We're also growing our own. We've had 5 years now of growing food in the back of this development, and we're now currently raising £2 million, which we're finding very difficult, to be honest, to raise £2 million for the refurbishment of the building. We'll have 11 bedrooms, a 50-60 cover restaurant, and we will train young people. We want to start early on in secondary schools before young people make their career choices at GCSE level, to tell them about good careers in hospitality and catering and also horticulture. So there is a plan, there's a dream, there's a hope that we can do something locally to exactly bring your vision to life. So thank you for that. Another question, but it must be
Can
from
I just
a woman.
say, sorry, Jerry, can I just say something to that? I was at the Abergavenny Food Festival a couple of weeks ago, and there was a panel about the hospitality business, a sort of emergency debate. And one of the issues, I think, I don't know if you know your take on this, but one of the people, Owen, a young man called Owen Morgan, who runs 4 Spanish restaurants because he got involved as a young child in Spanish cooking and everything. Anyways, he's one of those chefs that you're talking about, you know, the pleasure of food, and trains people well. And what his point was that the last budget, the one that's coming up, has just made life even more difficult for people in hospitality. It's as though the government doesn't quite get what a large part of the economy is hospitality. So they've had to lay off 30 people since January and are not hiring the young people that you're talking about, you know, who really want to have careers as cooks. So, and then, you know, the whole VAT thing, we have the highest VAT in Western Europe, you know, 20%, and, you know, it's 5% in France, and so on. Anyway, I just thought that was a fact.
Thank you. I think we might be having the last question, actually.
I've just come from a meeting with our accountant this afternoon, and one of the things she said to me was, Becky, you spend a lot of money on people. You're creating a lot of jobs. You're giving a lot of, but like too much. And I was like, but like that's exactly it. It's that reality of this. The reality of creating something different and working differently has a cost, and, you know, it's interesting.
Thank you for that. I think the lady on the front row wants to, I think you're going to be the last question, so.
Right. I was simply going to add to the comments.
What's your first name?
Sorry?
First.
Cherry, sorry. I was simply going to add to the comments about the hospitality industry. I think we're still suffering from the problem in the UK that it's class-ridden and people still see service jobs as lower class. That's my point.
Thank you very much. We might take one more question, if it's a quick, short question. Yeah, the microphone and name.
Hi, I'd like to talk to... sorry, my name is Sandy. I'm a keen cycling and walking advocate, and I'd like to refer to the question that Becky said, what food got to do with it, and also to what Sheila was talking about, where our money goes. And I think if we slow down and walk more and cycle more, we're more likely to stop at the local shop and buy something. If we walk home from school with our kids, buy something in the local shop. So I don't know if that's a question or a comment, but just to mention that the link between the infrastructures.
You mean a car culture doesn't lend itself to buying
Yeah, shopping locally, yeah. So we're getting in a car, we're going to the big supermarket, so we can walk, cycle, and if the infrastructure in the cities and our towns supports that, we're more likely to shop local, buy small, and talk about food while we're walking, bump into people. So health and well-being is affected as well, and it's all around our food, and food's got a lot to do with it as well.
Thank you very much for that comment and the link you've just made. I'm going to just begin to pull things to a close because we always committed to finishing at 7:30 on the dot, and we're going to try our very best to do that. So really, what have we learned tonight? What has shifted in our understanding around food in the UK? How might we live differently? Who can we tell about what we've heard? Engage is committed to following up this series and publishing your comments and ideas for action. I want to make a heartfelt and special thank you to our guest speaker tonight, Sheila Dillon. Your willingness to travel to Liverpool was humbling, and we couldn't have been more excited and encouraged. Your honest and clear words tonight have exposed us to the reality of our food system, making us more aware than ever and better prepared for the challenges ahead. Now we need to see what difference we can make here in Liverpool and in the city region. I want also to thank our showcasers, to Becky and Andrew, to our sponsors, Feeding Liverpool, and Liverpool City Council ward councillors from the Waterfront and City Centre, but especially to our neighbourhood manager, Gary O'Rourke, who's hiding there in the doorway. Gary has been exceptional in getting us the room and setting things up for us and making things really happen tonight. So I'm really grateful to Gary. He's a terrific neighbourhood manager and works tirelessly for those of us who are residents of the Waterfront and the city centre. So Gary, I hope you'll take what you've heard tonight back to the neighbourhood team, that they hear some of the comments that have been made. I want to thank also to videographer James Murphy, who's the guy in white there, showing off his biceps. Oh, has he got any? No, he hasn't. Don't worry. From Event Horizon Production, and to Jack and Luke, who are also helping him out tonight. And not forgetting Engage directors who have been here for their support and presence. I also want to mention before we go the flyers. You've been given a flyer from Helen from Kindling Farm, their next time's speakers, so they'd like you to take that and prepare. And also on the way out, Lucy, our third seminar speaker, has got a couple of things she'd like you to take when you leave. And before you go, we absolutely insist, in fact, we're going to block the door so you can't get out. Please take the feedback form. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We depend enormously on your comments to show anybody who might be a potential funder in the future what you think of what you've heard and what you've seen and what you've experienced. So please fill it in. But one of the questions is critical. It is, what one action would you like to see that would improve Liverpool's food culture? So that's critical. We're going to make all those available to the city region authorities and to the city council authorities. So we hope you'll be able to be part of that. And then please, we're going to upload everything. The next two seminars are important. They're part of the series. We hope you'll journey with us. please feel free to tell others. There will be a limit at some point on the numbers we can fit into some of the venues we've got. We're pretty close to the limit on this room, as you can see tonight. So 2 weeks' time, City of Liverpool College, Duke Street campus. Do you all know where it is? Sapporo Teppanyaki, Japanese restaurant on the corner. There's a whole, it's in between. It's something village, what's it called? East Village is the development name for it. At the top end of Duke Street, as you're going towards the Anglican Cathedral, on the right-hand side, there's a series of restaurants, and between the restaurants, the City of Liverpool College Duke Street campus is at the back. I think it's actually called Trade Wind Square. The postcode is in the on the flyer, which you've also got on your seat. And then the final one will be 2 weeks after that in Daffodil. Fabulous. We're going to be one of the first people to see the event space in the hull of the ship. It's going to be really special. So thank you very much. Flyers, next seminar. Lucy, done that. And safe journey home, but you're not going out until you finish. If you need pens, Zarino's got the pens. Thank you very much. A big clap to everybody, for all of you, and our speakers. Thanks so much.